Hi, my name is Allison Rucker, and I am from Russell, Arkansas, and I am attending the University of Arkansas, and I will be a senior next year. Currently, I am interning at SpaceX in Hawthorne, California. Being an intern at SpaceX isn't like being an intern at some other places because you really feel like you're a part of the team. And I feel like I'm contributing as much as everyone else on the team, so it really feels like I am actually working there instead of just like, oh, I'm only working there for 3 months. It feels like I've been working there for a while, and it feels like this could be something I could do. So it feels like basically what it would look like if I was full-time. Obviously, there would be a few differences, but it really is nice. They're very helpful, and so I've really enjoyed interning because it's just such a good dynamic and so fast-paced that I feel like I've learned twice as much as I have at another internship just because of how fast-paced it is. I'm working on improving antenna testing. And so that's kind of been my main focus for my project for the last half of my internship. The first half of my internship was more focused on just like boards that they have been using and kind of getting out the minor bugs that they've been having and they haven't been able to solve for a while. I'd say one of the most challenging things is actually just being able to know when everyone is free, because sometimes you'll be stuck on something and you have to kind of know who to ask, when they're available, and because since everything's fast-paced, people are moving around constantly. They're not like always at their desk. They're always like doing something, moving back and forth, waiting for different projects. So I feel like that's been one of the more challenging things, is just knowing like who to go to ask questions and knowing that like they might be slightly busy, but you can always still like message them and they'll get back to you at like the earliest convenience, but also trying to solve the problem as much on your own. So because people are busy more, it kind of tends to lead you to solve the problem yourself as much as possible. Obviously, there is some blockers that you cannot unblock yourself because some of them are very SpaceX niche that's like you would spend hours trying to figure it out. And that's also one of the challenging things, is just knowing like, should I ask for help or should I try to solve this myself? And normally what I do is I try to think, how long would this take me to solve this? And if it's a significant amount of time, then that's normally when you need to ask for help. It felt really good because even though I was working on some projects related to Demo 2, even though they weren't significant projects, they were just kind of like the minor bugs as I was talking about, because, you know, we're sending up astronauts. We have to like triple and quadruple check everything to make sure nothing goes wrong because it's very important. And so it felt like I was just kind of like a part of history. And so when I read about this in the future, people will be talking about it and be like, I was a part of this, I helped. And so that's a very like thing. It's like, even though my name's not mentioned, I don't really care about that as much, but it's more of like just knowing that you were a part of something historic. My internship is from May 11th till August 14th, so it is a 14-week internship. And at SpaceX, it's a 12-week minimum internship, and you basically can pick whenever your end date was. So I had technically had the option to continue until September 25th if I wanted to. Honestly, I think the most helpful class has been probably just the labs in general. Not really for a specific class, but just getting to know like how to like use the equipment and know like basics on how to like troubleshoot things. And so that was one of the main like courses that's really helped me. Also for my second project, I haven't been working on design, but my antennas class really helped in kind of like understanding like how the testing works, ways that I can improve the testing to make it more realistic, because it's being tested in like small environments, so it's a little bit of a challenge. So I feel like those classes have really helped me a lot. So I just applied online. Some people, if they're on like the Hyperloop teams or like Formula One, they do normally send a lot of people to recruit for those. It's normally like mechanical engineers for that realm. But I applied online, and about a month later, I got an email from the team that I'm currently working on saying that they would be interested in having an interview, and it was with the manager. And so my first interview that I had was with my manager, who is actually not my manager anymore, but that's another thing. But during the interview, they were kind of just asking me questions like about my resume, the projects that I did, and kind of just like getting to like know like my technical expertise through the projects that I have done already, because my resume had like a wide range of projects. Like I had robotics and I had my antenna design project, so that kind of covers a lot of things in electrical engineering. And so that really well, and the person that was in charge for the interns messaged me maybe about like 2 weeks later saying, hey, they said it went really well, we'd like to have a second interview. And that time my interview was with someone on my team who I actually didn't get to meet a couple of months later, because he was had a child, so he was working from home when I started. And so that went really well as well. It was kind of like more of the same things. I think in one interview I talked about robotics more, in the other interview I talked more about my antenna design project. But in my second interview, I also talked a lot about my leadership roles in IEEE and my volunteering, and how that kind of played a role into why I would be a good fit. And so about 2 to 3 weeks later from that, I got a call while I was in Germany. Actually, I wasn't in Germany, I was in Spain, at like 2 a.m. in the morning. I somehow woke up, like my body knew that I needed to answer this phone call. And then I got my acceptance, and she was kind of like, oh, you sound a little like off. And I was like, I didn't want to say, oh, I just woke up, it's really late where I am, but I was super excited, and I called my parents immediately. One new skill that I've learned is more RF testing, and we kind of did that when I was in my antenna class, but we didn't really like get to do it ourselves really. And so I've been doing a lot of different testing of passive and active RF components, so I've gotten to learn a lot more and like the specifications for the equipment, so I make sure not to harm it while I'm doing my testing. And so I feel like I've learned a lot about the testing of RF components, and even about some more software. Someone on my team has been teaching me how to use ADS, and so I can use that if I ever take measurements to kind of like look at it again in like more detail, and like kind of look at what points, what are the values. And so that's also a good simulation tool that I was told that I will probably be using whenever I go to grad school. So while I was in Germany, I took an microwave engineering 2 class, and so that really helped me to be able to understand some of the things that were going on. Even though like not everything was applicable, because I wasn't designing anything, but it's like still the background knowledge is really good for testing, because you still like learn better ways to test, and also vice versa. Testing also helps you be a better designer, and so I feel like those things really balance out. There was also a lot of like more of the soft skills that I learned while being in Germany, because being in Germany kind of really just throws you out of your element. There's no one really around that can do anything for you if you need help. I mean, there are, but it's not like your parents is just doing everything for you. But it's like having to do all these things in such a short amount of time, getting visas, getting situated, and living in a new place that's very far away, and you didn't even get to take a lot of your things with you. I had like 2 suitcases and a backpack with me. And so that kind of really helped me, because it's kind of like when you start at SpaceX, you're kind of like thrown out of your element a little bit more technically than situationally. But it kind of just helps for being able to adapt quickly. After my senior year, I'm going to be applying to go to grad school at a couple of different locations, mainly just good universities that have good RF programs, because that's what I want to focus in. As far as future plans with SpaceX, it's kind of a little up in the air right now. I will probably be planning on interning there again next year if I get an offer. Some good advice I do is work on projects that are not a part of your coursework, and not just work on them, but kind of like step into like a leadership role at some point, because it's kind of good to show like, hey, I started on this project, I learned so much, now I'm in a leadership position, because that shows really good growth that you won't get just from like your coursework. And so leadership positions in general are also very good. So if you wanted to like join like, I guess IEEE for electrical engineers, but any organization really, it doesn't even have to be anything specific, doesn't have to be technical. I think also my volunteer work showed good communication skills, because I was working with children, which are sometimes not always the easiest to work with, because you have to explain things to them in a way that they can understand. So that really shows good communication skills. And so my main thing is just work on all the other things that are outside of the curriculum. What extra have you done?